Hey, everybody. Let's talk about Bitcoin and what's happening right now. We're experiencing a little bit of a pullback. Now, if you're not living under a rock, you experience that huge move that Bitcoin just had. It broke out of this sideways wedge consolidation that we were in place for about 6, 7 months. And then it ran approximately, let's say, 40%, 39, 40% to the upside, and we are experiencing a little bit of a pullback right now as we speak. But what I wanted to do is go over and cover some of my thoughts as to what I think is happening, and this could potentially serve as a great opportunity for those of you who you think that you have missed out on a move, particularly in altcoins. Let's take a look at that. So we are experiencing a bit of a pullback. We tested almost at $90,000, and now we are back at 85, $86,000, which is not that much. These pullbacks are nothing. It's like 4%, 4.2%. Usually, in bull markets, you would experience extreme moves to the upside and to the downside. So I would not be surprised if I experience Bitcoin pushing all the way back down to 76% to test that as support before it climbs up again. And these kind of consolidations or pullbacks are actually healthy for a long-term sustained move to the upside. Just like that, I do expect that Bitcoin will hit approximately 130, 140, right around that. I would say probably like June, uh, or probably I would say January, February area. My initial target was $120,000. I still think we're going to get to $120,000 around February or March area. And then we might even potentially hit 160, 150, just like most analysts expect. But to be conservative, I would say we're definitely going to test that 120 around March or May timeframe. What we're experiencing right now is a pullback. So, what you want to do is that let's take a look at Sol USD. So, Sol USD, the same exact thing like Bitcoin, right? It consolidated sideways and it broke out. And now we are pulling back again, and that's only a 10% pullback. So what usually would happen is whenever you have a consolidation sideways like this and you break out, what usually happens is that whether it's stock or crypto assets, is that it would come back, test a support, and see if that support holds. That's a confirmation that this is a sustained move and there's actually money and volume behind it. So if it holds your previous support, then more money is coming in and the likelihood of the trade working out your way goes higher, right? And if it breaks that support, well, then the move was probably like a pump and dump scheme, or there was not a whole lot of sustainment or a whole lot of volume and money behind that move. So you would pull over to the side whenever you get an opportunity like that again, then you would go back in. So right now we're experiencing Solana, a bit of a pullback from Solana, but I would not be surprised to test that 184, 185 area, or even if you're a little more aggressive trader, I would take a look at that 200 as my support and get back in, because a lot of people would do is that they, when Solana was trading a few days, like 2 days ago, or 224, 225, they say, oh my god, I missed out on Solana, and they would jump right in, and then what would happen is that it would get flushed out, right? And then they would get back out and then it'd pull back to the upside again. They get back in and get flushed out again. So what you want to do is, if you truly believe in a particular altcoin, what you want to do is get into that altcoin on a pullback, on a healthy pullback off of a support. So this is something to watch. Keep an eye on that. And if you truly do believe in Solana, this is a good area to actually get into, because it is testing the previous support, right? The previous once resistance turns into support, and that's a good support to buy off of. So this was a previous resistance. Now that's a good support. So right around this 200, 201 area would be a good place to get into. I ultimately do think that if the bull market continues, we are going to test the all-time highs around 259, and I would not be surprised to see Solana at 350 right around January or February area. On a macro scale, if you look, there's actually a pattern that's forming. It's called cup and handle. Usually, cup and handles like this with a good volume and the macro thesis behind it will absolutely break to the outside and it would have a crazy move. And the fact that the fundamentals are there behind Solana and so much money that's moving in, flowing into Solana, it's been one of the very strong altcoins. It's been something that I have believed in for a very long time. So keep an eye on this. I do see an incredible move to the upside. So if you do believe in Solana, pullbacks are great opportunities to get into. So the other thing you want to take a look at is ETH USD. Now I know a lot of you guys are not necessarily fans, and I'm not a fan of ETH because ETH has not performed to my expectations. And one of the reasons ETH has not performed to my expectations is again, it's just fundamental cases, right? If something is more expensive to transact and it takes a long time to send you that confirmation, then why would you actually use a chain like ETH? So, what I mean by that, so if you were to uh, process a transaction with Solana, you'd probably pay 1/100th of a penny. Okay. Now, if you were to process that same exact transaction using ETH, you would pay $4 or $5, right? So that's like a couple thousand% more expensive. And the fact that the finality of Solana would be less than a second, but for ETH, you would have to wait 10, 15 minutes to confirm your transactions. So that's basically the fundamental case as to why I think Solana will way outperform ETH. And I think the chart kind of shows, right? So a lot of people could talk a lot of game. What you want to see is facts. And charts are facts. That's charts are basically telling you, hey, there's no money flowing into this particular asset because at the end of the day, you put your money where your mouth is, right? So if people don't believe in it, people are not putting money into it, you would actually see it on a chart that people are not putting money into it. So it's been outperforming. It has not been outperforming. It hasn't even outperformed any of the meme coins, let alone some strong altcoins like Solana. But if you're still a believer in ETH, what I would do is wait for a bit of a pullback down to that 27, 20. So yeah, around that 2700 area, 2800 area, and then you would see how it would react around that resistance, which is around 3700. Now, if we broke out of this wedge pattern and it comes back and tests and holds this as a support, then that's the point you would add back into it again. If you believe in the thesis going forward, then we can go up to the all-time highs. I did believe that we were going to test 8K. Um, at a crazy bull run, but I don't have that belief anymore. And the reason I don't think so is because of what I just basically said. The transaction fees are way too higher. The processing time, confirmation for transaction processing is way too long. Nobody's going to wait 10, 15, 20 minutes to see if transaction goes through. Not to mention the fact that they have to pay 10, 15, $20 per transaction versus Solana, which it pays less than 1/10 of a penny or 1/100th of a penny. So, if you still believe in it, that's what you would get into. But if you don't, I would pass on it. But it's up to you guys how you want to, do this. But so the other thing I want to see is Say USD. Say had a crazy run. I recommended Say when we were trading right around that 24, 25 cents, and then it went up all the way to $1.15. The fundamental case for Say stands as well. The finality to transaction is almost equivalent to Solana. The uh, the price per transaction is equivalent to Solana. The finality is actually faster than Solana. The only thing that Solana has that Say does not have is an actually battle tested altcoin that has the TVL total value locked, that has the adoption network adoption, and it's been around for long. So I think that's the only case that Solana has that Say doesn't have. Say pretty much everything that they've done is a test net. They haven't been tested in the real world to the same transaction put through because Solana ideally in a lab environment can perform up to, I would say, 1.2, 1.3 million transactions per second. And so can Say. but they're both in a lab environment, right? In sort of a control environment. Uh, and Say hasn't been tested in a real world, but Solana has and has performed great. So if you believe in the cheapest, fastest horse will win the race, I would bet on Solana, and my second bet will be Say. Just like pretty much everything else, we're experiencing a pullback of approximately, let's take a look, 15, 16%. So if I believe and Say, I would buy it off of this support right here, right around that 35, 36 cents. If it holds, great. If it breaks, well, then you get out. But your risk to reward ratios are wonderful when you get in right at support. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. What the other one I wanted to cover is Sui. Now, Sui has performed great. It's been one of the best performing altcoins this season. From the lows of October 23, we're looking at 700, almost 800%. And just like pretty much everything, we're experiencing that pullback. The pullback here is about 13, 14%. Now, if you do believe in Say, you would buy it off of this support right around here. You'd buy it off of 235, 236. For a move to the upside. Now, the other thing that I like about Sui is that it's in a price discovery area. And in price discovery zones, you can't really put a cap on these things. They could easily run to $10, $12. Current market cap of Sui is around a couple $1 billion. So I would not be surprised to see Sui at 15, $20 billion. And there's a lot of momentum behind it. There's a lot of VCs behind it. There's a huge community behind it. So the network effects are there, primed to push Sui to the all-time highs. The other stock actually I want to cover is Coin. This is also related to crypto assets. Um, Past few days after Trump got elected, we had this huge move to the upside, and because that was Trump trade, we do have this little gap that's here. Most of the time, what happens when you have gaps like this is that's where liquidity lies, right? So the stocks would go up and then come back and test that liquidity, hold that before going up. So I do think that we might get a pullback, a greater pullback on coin. It might test that around, I would say, that 300 zone or even lower. If the stock market does not, you know, help with the crypto assets and stock market falls, the rest of the risk assets will follow as well. But if it stays healthy and more money is coming in and it's consolidating sideways and going up, then you can expect the crypto assets to go perform that as well. But since we're experiencing that pullback in crypto assets, you can expect Coinbase to test that 285, 300 area before it goes up to the all-time highs. I definitely think it's going to break all-time highs because it's one of the exchanges that's has the most money, most trust in the US behind it. And they've been able to keep up with the regulatory environment and pretty much are in line with SEC, and they really don't have a whole lot of issues with U.S. exchanges. So, Coinbase being one of the custodians of most Bitcoin and most crypto assets, I would say this is a healthy place to be in. And the same thing that I talked about earlier with Solana, the whole cup and handle, right? That cup and handle is here as well. And I could definitely see this thing testing 430, 435. At the probably January February timeframe. Now, if you want to see a meme coin, stock that's performed like a meme coin, that would be MicroStrategies. So from January 2023, we are up approximately 2,000%. Um, Honestly, I would not know where to get into MicroStrategies. Um, I would feel more comfortable if it comes back and tests this area of that 281, 283. That would be a wonderful area to go long because again, it has this huge gap. And most of the times when you have a huge pullback in the crypto markets, you can expect MicroStrategies because it's leverage Bitcoin basically So you would have when you have moves in Bitcoin, either to the upside or to the downside, you can see or you can experience exponential move in that particular direction in macro strategies as well. So you can see easy macro strategies testing that 280, 290 before it goes back up. And I think just same thing like I said earlier, it's in price discovery. I would not be surprised to see macro strategies $1,000 if Bitcoin tests 120. So do with that what you will. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, so talk to your financial advisor. These are just my thoughts. But if you believe in some of these altcoins, the best time to get into is not when it's all time high, but it's pulling back to its support. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you have any question, drop it in the comments below. I'll do my best to cover that. All right, buddy. Thank you.